Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris Barner here, Overtime Athletes. Today's video, what I want to share with you is my favorite two, or what I consider two of the best acceleration drills for athletes to develop their overall acceleration, right? And this is essentially acceleration is going to be their get off, right? Those first 5 to 10 yards, right? And really what I start to hone in on, what I focus on with my athletes is really those first 3-4 steps. The biggest thing that we're trying to do there is obviously have the right trajectory, and we're trying to focus at being able to tack back down to the ground and focus on pushing on the ground. Now, in acceleration, what you have to realize compared to top speed, an athlete's foot spends more time on the ground. Top speed is a reaction where they're swiping and they're pulling, whereas acceleration, they're actively attacking, right? Making sure their trajectory is pushing them forward, right? Shin angle going in a positive angle, and they're focused on pushing through that extension. So what I find to be highly effective is I get a lot of athletes who can be twitchy, who can move fast from a frequency standpoint, right? That switch or scissor-like motion in the hips is actually pretty fast. So what I actually want to teach them is to be a little bit more patient and focus a little bit more on that push, so they're not so quick. So if you think about it like a punch, which is your foot striking the ground, it's not a jab where you're pulling back. It's a follow through, right? Where I'm actually having the athlete spend a little bit more time and focus on the push. And when I go time over time on the stopwatch, it's always shown to have my athletes get faster times when they focus on their push, become a little bit more patient, right? Mechanics aside, and make sure that they spend a little bit more time to generate a little bit more force. Think of it like an airplane. You need all that energy to get it off the ground, and then once you're in the sky, obviously you're a little bit more efficient, a little bit more relaxed in your top speed. So what we need to do is we need to spend that energy making sure that we're focused on developing and pushing through as much force as we possibly can. So those two drills that I absolutely love are going to be first and foremost that I teach, establish with most of our young athletes, all the way up to our pros, is going to be the half kneeling start. Now, the half kneeling start is essentially just being able to get down onto one knee and have that athlete focus on pushing on the leg. So I'll switch legs here. Imagine I'm going this way. Really what I'm focused on is this leg that's pushing from a deep range of motion. What I mean by that is my hip, my knee, and my ankle is all in a deeper range of motion than I usually typically would when I run, and I want them to focus on getting full extension of this leg. So this is complete flexion of the hip, knee, and ankle, and then I want them to focus on being able to generate and push with as much force as they possibly can, their body horizontally, right, to then drive into extension as hard as they can. So this is why it's so paramount with that drill, and you might hear me cueing in a lot of videos. You gotta come out of a cannon, right? A lot of guys, they don't possess enough strength, so what happens, they end up getting up and then trying to, at this range of motion, push. The whole purpose of the drill is for us to be able to focus on getting as much force as we can, driving into extension off that single leg. It's also paramount that we focus on switching off both of those to get the benefit of the drill. So that's number one, which is gonna be our half kneeling start. Crucial for developing that pushing like force power, and also reinforces their mechanics when they actually go to accelerate. The second one is going to be the alternating bound for distance. Now, using the same principles that we just talked about, focusing on that pushing through extension, attacking back down at the ground with a good trajectory. The way that I like to teach this is not just say alternating bound, right? There's two different types. One for vertical force, one for horizontal. This is specifically focusing on the horizontal. Now, when we do that, what we have to realize is I'm teaching the athlete to try to get as much hang time in the air as I possibly can, focus on that full extension backside, and really focus on pushing themselves in that forward like horizontal motion. And this just reinforces that push. So from a setup standpoint, I actually want the rib cage over their pelvis, chin slightly tucked, eyes gazed down. I want them focused on driving that knee forward, and I want them, again, focus on, I tell them if I have 35 yards of turf, I'll tell them try to get there in less than 10 strides. So they're not so quick to hit the ground again, they're more focused on trying to expand open up those hips and take the longest stride that they possibly can. And what this does directly is it makes them focus on pushing away at the ground as hard as they possibly can. So those are the two things. Now with that, I can obviously progress that. I can either go on a run rocket, some kind of resisted, where I can go horizontal alternating bounds. I can go pushing a sled, where I'm a little bit more controlled and stable and focus on pushing. I can go single leg, alternating bound, resisted with a band. Again, the biggest thing is making sure our shin angle is attacking back down at the ground and we're focused on the push. There's so many different components to having a good acceleration, but the athletes I see in team sports that really excel. Now, when you take Olympic athletes that are the 1% of the 1%, like a lot of those athletes don't even have to get full extension of the leg. But what I notice in like football, basketball, baseball, when you're trying to teach an athlete acceleration, because of the nature of the sport, they're so focused on the frequency attacking back down that they never take the time to actually push. This is what I say when they're going fast nowhere. You're creating a lot of steps, you're very twitchy, you're attacking the ground, but you're jabbing the ground as opposed to pushing through the ground. And that's the biggest focus. That's why I like these two drills. Absolute favorite. I think they're the two best ones that I continue to hammer inside our program, and that's why we continue to get success and see those 10 times drop year over year. I hope that helps. Talk to you guys next time.